Welcome to Fri AI. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Let's jump right into the stories. First up, Nvidia to make ARM-based PC chips a major new challenge to Intel. So this was huge news. It caused Nvidia's stock to jump, I think 4% today, around there. Nvidia is known for making GPUs, but now they want to make CPUs on ARM-based technology. Now you might ask what ARM technology is. Basically, ARM technology is just a CPU that takes less resources by the computer. It's easier in terms of energy and just makes things quicker. So ARM chips are 32-bit and 64-bit RSIC-based CPUs that are known for their low costs, but primarily for their low power requirements. Now, Apple's been in this game for a really long time. Not really long, but I think the last year or two. And what they've been doing is they've been making their own chips. So Microsoft wants to compete with that. So they reached out, from my understanding, to Nvidia, and Nvidia is working with Microsoft to make custom chips, CPU chips for Microsoft laptops and desktops, and maybe tablets as well. So that's huge news. Nvidia is already killing it. I think they're like in the top 5 or top 10 stock out there in terms of market value. They're over $1 trillion company. This will probably make it so they continue to grow. I mean, the sky's the limit for this company because GPU chips are going to be used in everything for AI in the coming years, and also computers are going to continually to have more market sales and more sales in general. And every computer, as you know, needs a CPU chip. So Nvidia is trying to get into that market, which is exciting. So next up, this is a very interesting story. Newspapers want some kind of compensation for large language models to scan all their text and stories. So right now, how large language models work is they go out all over the web, scrape data, meaning they've got these bots that go to each web page and sort of pull in all the data from the web page, put it all in one huge database, for lack of a better definition for you, and then they use that data to train their LLM models. Well, newspapers and forums and Twitter, they don't like this because all these bots are coming to their site and just getting free content for the most part. So now newspapers like the Washington Post, the New York Post, Twitter, they want paid for this. They want paid to be able to share their data with everyone. So this kind of raises a weird question, though, because, I mean, the newspapers themselves do this, right? The articles are based off journalists, and those journalists go out and research content on the web, or they interview people to get their data to do their stories. So does that mean every single journalist should pay the person they're interviewing or the source that they have? It's like a rabbit hole that you can go down forever. Or like, so for example, sports scores, those are on most major newspapers. Those sports scores are readily available, but should the newspaper pay to gather those sports scores? I don't know. I feel like if the data is out there publicly, then it should be able to be used for whatever reasons you want, whether that be an LLM, use it for your own public use, or anything. Now, if that data is behind a paywall like Bloomberg or Wall Street Journal or things like that, then obviously the bots can't go scrape that data and it's protected. But free data that's already available on the web, I don't know about that one. That's a tough pill to swallow. And we talked about in a previous episode, there are other data sets out there that are open source, and they're trying to make all the information readily available to everyone. It's sort of like a dark web of free data out there because they want to fight against this. They think all data should be open. Now, one of the reasons why I feel like data should be open is because if they close this down, they start charging, meaning these newspapers and Twitter, which Twitter already does, my understanding, they charge $45,000 to get their full data set to be able to train data on or do whatever you want with it. But as soon as these companies start charging for data, it's going to make the quality of the AI drastically less than it is today. You'll have the outcomes of your questions or prompts will be not on cue like a lot of it is today. So that's one thing. This is something that could actually kill AI. I don't think it's going to, but it could slow it down for the years to come. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to have a workaround, but it's a big deal, and we're going to see what happens. Now, if companies like OpenAI decide to go ahead and work with Washington Post and other newspapers out there, the plan is that there's twofold parts to this. So the Washington Post would get paid for companies like OpenAI or like Llama 2, any LLM that trains with data sets, those companies would pay the Washington Post some kind of fee. Now, we don't know what that is, but that's the idea. They would also require that links be posted in the results of the prompt. So if I prompted and said, give me the weather for the last 30 days in Cleveland, Ohio, where I live, there would have to be a link to like weather.com or wherever the LLM pulled that data from, there'd have to be a link as a source for that as well. So it's a two-pronged approach. They would get paid, newspapers would get paid, and they also get a lot more web traffic because the prompts would have a link there so people could click on that link to see what the source is. And that's a big deal as well, because another part of this is, search engines as we know it could go away. And most of the traffic for these big sites come from Google, which is the biggest search engine, obviously. And if Google's traffic starts to dissipate, well, where's all that rest of the traffic going to go towards the newspapers? How are they going to survive? Well, it could come from ChatGPT or any kind of chatbot like that, like Bard, or the 10 other ones out there. Claude.ai is another one. So very interesting story, and we'll keep an eye on that one. Lastly, Apple. Okay, now Apple, we never hear anything about Apple and AI. They always talk in other conferences and speeches and meetings, they never talk about AI. Why do they do that? Nobody knows. One theory is, from what this article says, that they were caught off guard with AI and they were behind the curve, and a lot of people in the company were sort of distressed about that. And another theory is that, we interviewed Robert Scoble. He's a big tech influencer out in Silicon Valley. And his idea is they're sort of keeping it under the table because they're going to come out with AI that just blows everybody's minds. And they don't want to leak any kind of that data or what they're actually doing with AI. So it'll be very interesting to see which one is actually true. But right now, there's nothing. I mean, they haven't hardly announced anything. Like Amazon announced things about Alexa, how they're going to integrate Alexa with AI. We haven't heard too much about Siri and AI at all. That would be a huge starting point because Alexa and Siri are freaking terrible compared to talking with like voice generated AI on ChatGPT. So that can have a huge overhaul right there. They go in to say, how is Apple going to integrate in AI with their products already? How are they going to integrate it with their phone and with their laptops and with their Apple Car that's supposedly supposed to come out as well? They're also going to be integrating it with Xcode, which is their code editor, primarily used to develop iPhone apps. Right now, Microsoft has Copilot, which is a huge help for coders out there. From my understanding, it reduces developers and their code work by about 50%. It would take them about half the time and half the amount of code because it's such a huge help. We'll keep an eye on that as well. I think if Apple integrates AI and they do it the right way, they're going to be one of the top companies in AI. It's probably going to be OpenAI, Tesla, Microsoft, and Google, those top 4 players. Finally tonight, I like sharing ways to find new cool AI tools. So GitHub has this trending section where you can see the trending tools. Now, these are the top trending tools of every single project on GitHub. It does not have to be just AI. So it's very interesting though, because a lot of these are AI companies, usually. We'll see right now. So OpenPilot, we actually interviewed them for our podcast, Behind the Bots. So if you search Behind the Bots on YouTube, you can find that interview. OpenPilot is the open source software for Comma AI, and Comma AI is it's a tool where you can plug it into your car and it does driving assisted driving for you, whether your car has it or not. It's very cool. It's sort of like self-driving, very cool tool that you can check out in our podcast. Usually there's some more than there are right now, but here, Deep Parse, that's deep learning. We've got Open Interpreter, OpenAI's code interpreter in your terminal. So some of these are kind of geeky, but once in a while you'll find some cool things here. We got GPT for free. That is cool. An Nvidia project here, MathLM. If you want to dig deeper into these, feel free to click the link. Usually each GitHub project has a pretty good detail on what it is right on their main landing page. So that's it for tonight. Really exciting stories coming out, and can't wait to do another one of these tomorrow. We'll be doing these every day, unless something happens. We've had some technical difficulties along the way since we're changing the format. Eventually, we're going to be posting every single weekday. Thanks so much for tuning in. Please subscribe to our email newsletter at fri-ai.com/subscribe. We will see you tomorrow night. Have a great rest of the evening. This is Ryan signing out. Take care.